was in the paper for, and I'll just quote it. She yelled at me in front of 2 classes of students, said Linda Cooks, a former English teacher who was removed from her job. And I'll use another quote from the article. There are procedures in place to evaluate personnel, and we follow these procedures, said School Superintendent Richard Carranza in a statement. A principal's work performance is not and should not be judged based on slander. Slander is when someone tells a lie about another. It is slander when the lie can damage another's reputation. A group of students wrote a letter about the principal's behavior when she came to the classroom, and I'll just read a very short portion of this to you guys. I don't have time for this, in a rude way and in a very offensive way that it upset the entire class, and then just walked out and slammed the door. This is your principal, slamming doors in the front of students. Ms. Cooks was very hurt that she didn't say a thing and just packed her stuff. She called Ms. Nancy and asked for a sub for her class so she could leave. We are shocked that our principal would act like that, especially in front of the whole class. And we felt very, very sad and mad that our teacher left. We are not forced to write this letter. We wrote this because we love and care about Ms. Cooks. This came straight from the children's heart. This is from a group of students who wrote this. And you all know that there is a problem at MLK. Why don't you do something? The NAACP is there. Why don't you pay a security guard instead of the NAACP? What amount of money are they getting? That is not the purpose of the NAACP and Amos Brown. So when you take a look at this whole picture, you guys all know that there's something wrong. Why don't you do something? As I said before, why don't you do the right thing over this Christmas holiday? Remember, Jesus is the reason for the season. And think about how you want your children treated. That's all you have to do. How would you like it if your daughter came home, or your son, and said, the principal sat on me today? I wouldn't like it very much. No.
Thank you.
You know what?
2 minutes.
You know what? You had 5. How many minutes did you talk? I mean, we listened. What parts that we can't speak? That's the problem. You don't listen, but we listen to you.
Steve Zeltzer, you began this meeting tonight talking about human rights and commemorating human rights. I'd like to know the issue of bullying, why the bullying hasn't been addressed at the Martin Luther King School when you talk about human rights. This has been brought up by the parents and the teachers, and recently there was a press conference that was held, and the issue of bullying was brought up, and the superintendent said that it was slander. There was no physical abuse and bullying of students at Martin Luther King. Well, I would say, and said that there was a thorough investigation. Well, the staff who were involved in that incident haven't been interviewed by the management here at the school district. So what kind of thorough investigation was done by the school district about the bullying of students at Martin Luther King School? Furthermore, we just heard about the charter school and that they want a music room. Why is the music program and art program been closed down at Martin Luther King School? This is a school that needs music and art program. It's not in Pacific Heights. It's not in a wealthy district in San Francisco, yet it doesn't seem to have the funding for music and arts. Why is that? Those are serious questions that have to be addressed. Furthermore, Bechtel and the SERP program are involved in San Francisco, as are other privatization companies who want to privatize the schools and drive the schools towards core standards and selling tests from Pearson and other companies. I would argue that that's for the destruction of education. It's not to advance the students of San Francisco and the students of this country. Core standards are being used not to provide more teaching, more education, but to drive more testing and to drive really the students out and further privatization of the schools. Another issue is a video that was done of this incident at the school. There was a video done of the physical abuse of a student at the school, and apparently Reverend Amos Brown was able to see that video. Who allowed him to see that video, since he's not a parent of the student? Is this allowed? Other people have asked to see the video, haven't been provided that opportunity. So there's some serious systemic problems here going on, and I think it has to be addressed. Lastly, the slander, that this is slander, is absolutely untrue, and I think the superintendent should apologize to the people, the parents, and the students at MLK.
My name is Scheive, and I'm a paraprofessional at John O'Connell High School, and I have a great job working with severely impaired children. I would like everybody here right now to please take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and please write this down. Go to the website tonight when you get home, or tomorrow, of the United Public Workers for Action. Their website is www.upwa.org. The reason I'm here is because I went to that website today, and I saw an incredible narrative about MLK Junior Middle School. I saw 2 press rallies where people who were employees of the school district, members of UESF, and because of the incident at MLK, this is back in February, where the principal sat on the student, and as a result of that event, 17 people were fired or dismissed or reorganized from counselor into social worker, right? Now, I want to know how the board, how you, Mr. Carranza, can put out a memo and say that there was a complete investigation when you didn't even interview the people who were involved. Maybe you'll get up tonight and respond to me. I would really like that, as a matter of fact. And I also would like to know how Toby, the great security guard who has worked for the district for 40 years and loves the kids, he really does, how the police report that was put in for him that he did not sign said that a student attacked him, when Toby himself says that the principal fell on him, and she's not a light woman.
Thank you, President Yee. I want to be absolutely unequivocal that we take student safety extremely seriously in the San Francisco Unified School District. That is the reason that we are here. But I want to also make sure that we talk about a few things that haven't been talked about this evening. In particular, the number 8, the number 3, and the number 38. You see, the number 8 represents the number of Latino students proficient before the current principal took over at MLK. 8% were proficient in English language or in math. 3% were proficient in terms of African American students before this principal took over. 3%. And if that's not enough, let's talk about 17 and 33. 33% of the Latino students being proficient in English language arts, and 17% of the African American students being proficient in math and English language arts. How can we, as adults in this community, who have our high school diplomas, who in some cases have our bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and doctorates, who have shown proficiency and gone to college, sit and purport to be for the kids when you have 3% of the African American students proficient? How can we even say that? And not once have I heard someone say, what are we going to do about that? So we are going to do something about that, and that's what our strategic plan is about. And you're with us or you're not, but we welcome and we join arms with the NAACP, who has said, by the way, they're getting not one dime, not one penny, who are going out and raising their own funding to support our students at MLK. And in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., who went to jail because he wanted a better future, we're going to do whatever it takes to ensure that our kids have a better future at MLK. But as you think about this, I want you to think about 8, 3, 33, and 17. And when we start talking about those numbers being 100%, then we're talking about what the real work is about.
President Yee,
Yes.
Superintendent, I am from Martin Luther King, you
I'm
know
sorry,
who I
you
am.
have a speaker card?
I don't have a speaker card in,
I'm
but
sorry,
I'm
you-
asking
you-
if I could say a few words, please.
No.
Oh, come.
Excuse me.
I just want to
You've been
thank
here.
Superintendent Carranza for taking a stand here tonight and letting everyone else here in this boardroom who are watching online, letting them know the reality of what is really going on. And if he is bold enough to take a stand, I hope and I pray that everyone here in this room, on this board, all educators, paras, security, secretaries, whoever they may be, who are in charge of our children when they are not in our care and they're at their school site, that we have the utmost compassion and respect for our children. So I just want to say thank you, because you know, all of you know here on this board how many times I have come forward and asked that you will help. But what I got in return was removal. But I would like for you to reach out to me, because I know what works in the Bayview and in the Southeast. I know the families and the communities in the Bayview. I know the church leaders in the Bayview and in the Southeast sector of the city. I know that we need to close the achievement gap of the targeted population, which is the African Americans, the Latinos, the Polynesians, and our Chinese American children. Because we're having all these problems at our school site, our Chinese children have come to me and told me that they will not do good well in the CSTs, and they're going to Lowell and they're struggling, and that should not be. So I thank you for giving me and allowing me this time, President Yee. Thank you.
Advisory committee reports, appointments to advisory committee of board members. Any appointments to board members at this time? Seeing none,